My name is Alyssa Rubino. I was born in Oakland, California. I lived in Richmond until I was about 9, and then I moved all the way to Sonoma County to Petaluma, where I live now. Well, actually, I live a little bit further now, north. Yeah, Santa Rosa.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I had to Google where that was when you said. I was like, man.
Yeah, some people, if they don't go way out there, they won't know.
Definitely don't.
Yeah.
I drive past or around. Okay, so. Oh, I thought that was you.
Oh shoot! You could keep this in this. I've never done an interview before. Can you tell? Okay.
You seem like you're getting comfortable, though. So, you were raised in the Bay Area. What was your life like growing up from birth to 9 years old?
So my parents, they were actually teen parents. So I didn't live with both my parents until we moved to Sonoma County. So until I was 9, 10 years old. But growing up, I actually went to a Christian school until I moved. So preschool up until 4th grade, I attended Vista Christian School in Richmond.
What was your relationship with God in your adolescent years?
Well, growing up, like all my life, I've been in and out of church. My grandma has been a big influence on that. She's always brought me to church. That's actually the first exposure that I had with dancing was through church. The first church that I went to was Shiloh, that's in Oakland. And then from there, whatever church my grandma went to, I would go with her, and she would give me the opportunity to dance, because she actually paved the way for a lot of dance ministries at all the churches, because they didn't have that. So she really, opened the eyes to all that. And then she knew I loved to dance, and she really paved the way for my dance career, I guess, and my passion. And then I've been choreographing since I was 12. Yeah.
Okay, prodigy.
Yeah. So just pretty much my grandma has a big influence on why I've been able to stay attached to the Lord and church in some way, before making my own, decision to do that on my own. So I've always had that type of foundation.
Okay, so it sounds like, so you said your grandma introduced you and helped form that relationship you had with Christ, right? Mm-hmm. And so what was your relationship with Christ from your beginning teen years? Was it personal yet, or was it just based on your grandmother's faith?
I would say it was a little personal. I mean, I knew, to pray for, certain things, but it wasn't like a daily thing. I didn't know any good thing that happened to me like that, that was God, I should thank him. But I knew I don't know, just at the normal times, I guess, at dinner or something, or at celebrations, or, just really a time where, when you're hurting or something, or you want something, or, the times where you shouldn't, or not that you shouldn't, but.
You think that God is Santa Claus.
Yeah. So those times, but it really, I really wasn't doing it for myself. And then even then, I was still in and out of church. Even this church, I think by then, that's when that group that I had mentioned to you had started here at Faith Fellowship, the youth group. Even then, I mean, I knew I had to, become more dedicated, or at least, open my eyes more, because I knew I was taking, a position. But being so far, living in Petaluma where I lived, it was always hard to, to drive down here. My grandma would have to pick me up, or, I was just younger, so it was always hard to get down, and I would only come for the Easter or, the Christmas times. Yeah. So so during my teen years, I was still, I still knew God was there, still looked for him when, I needed something, like you said, Santa Claus, but I wasn't fully there yet, or aware, or even knew that there's a, even that word, everybody has a relationship with God. I was still totally just.
Was there something that put you off to it, or what was the blockage that you didn't have that full relationship?
I think because my mom, she wasn't going to church. Mm-hmm. So how I said, it was my grandma who would, make the push, make the, what's the word, whatever, I'll just go with push. The commitment, to go out there and get me all the time. Because my mom, how I said, she wasn't with the Lord yet. She was still doing what she was doing. So I didn't, I guess I could have went on my own, but I just never thought to just go on my own, I guess, and find a church. So I guess, the opportunity wasn't really there. And then I lived so far away from my grandma, and then the only really opportunity I had was, if I was with her, a dance was coming up and she wanted me to be a part of it.
So what was life like? Because I know that even with Christ and my mom and my grandma talking about it and making me go to church in my childhood, I was off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, because you also went to a Christian school growing up, do you feel like there was a time in your life where you could see or that pushed you into a relationship with Christ?
Be like that I would had exposed, like going to a Christian school?
No, not necessarily because you were exposed to a Christian school. Was there a time that pushed you from, okay, God exists over here, but now I want to have a relationship with him?
Oh yeah, that's like now. Well, not now, but like into my I'm 29, so probably like 25. So like how I said, I'm new, I'm like kind of new. Okay, yeah, so probably like 25, 24, that's probably like when I really, decided that I needed a relationship, because that's when my mom was new, to coming back to serving the Lord. So she was, really into it. And, of course, she's going to spread what she's learning to her children, to me and my brother. So that's kind of what also helped start it. She would always have, and she still does, like she'll just call me once in a while and we'll just have long talks, and she'll just, talk to me about the Lord, be like, Alyssa, make sure you pray. And, that music that you listen to, you can't do that. And just different things, she was, as she was learning, she was just spreading it, to her kids. And because she's like a very emotional person. So as she learned, like the fear of God came over her, so, and then she's always known that though, because she's grown up in church. So she's already been knowledgeable, she's already known about the Lord and everything. She just had to make her way back. Yeah. So she just started to, just call me here and there and just tell me different things. And then I would tell her just different things that would happen in my life, like good things, like, oh, look, guess what? Like, I got the stimulus check, or I don't even know why this check came from. And she's like, oh, why, right? And I was like, yeah, God. And like, I always knew, once I knew, once she started, those talks with me, then I knew like, okay, God, like everything's coming, literally, like we just got home safely because of God. And like, yeah, like, and that's how I think now, like every situation, even when it gets bad, I'm like, okay, well, let me just take a breath, and then I'll even like shout out loud, like, God, like how, like help me, like now I'm like, like I'm in the zone now for my salvation, to live like Jesus, to represent him. And
was there something that like forced you, or was it just your mom constantly speaking?
So that was a help, because I was going through something. I was just going through a really hard time in my life. And I've always kind of dealt with like anxiety and depression and stuff like that, like suicidal thoughts. So there was a time where it was like really bad, just, I was just going through it, just having these thoughts. And it got to the point where I started to drink alcohol. Like it was out of control, like bottles a day, like nonstop. Like I wouldn't start my day until I would drink. And like how I'm telling you, like how I asked you, like, where is this going? Because like my family, they don't know that. Like how I telling you guys are the first to hear it. You guys are the first to hear it.
How does it feel? Because the stuff I used to do, I tell Martin now, he's like, you used to do it. I'm like, I've never said it. And it feels like I'm even informing myself. So how does it feel for you to at least say that?
It feels good. That's why, that's part of the reason why I was nervous to talk to you guys, because like the truth behind, my testimony, and why I wanted to know, why do you pick me, and why I wanted to let you guys know that I'm still in the beginning of my journey, because like what I'm going to like reveal, it's kind of, I know there's probably other people that, obviously probably have something similar or even worse, but hopefully, they get out of it. But, it's just hard to, admit that. So, yeah, it was just a horrible time. And then...
What made you drink?
I've just dealt with a lot of, I don't know, just self-esteem issues, self-doubt. And I don't really know even where it really stems from. I think a lot of it too is relationships that I was in. I think that's actually where the downward spiral was, because it was my daughter's dad. So, the feelings run deep when someone you love is hurting you. So, I was just going through that and hurting, like physically harming myself and stuff. And my family knew nothing about it, but still, like my mom, I don't want to cry, but my mom was calling me, like not knowing any of this was going on, but I was just, taking it in. And then one day I just literally, I just snapped out of it. I was like, if I get sick, like I can't get better from this if I keep doing this. And I did, and then I just randomly, I just started praying, or not praying, but opening up the Bible. I've always had the Bible app. That was one of the things that I wanted to start to do when my mom started talking to me, okay, at least let me download the Bible, if I don't get to it, at least, I'm trying, a little bit, little baby steps here and there.
Verse of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So then I just opened it and I just started reading while I was drinking. And I just was crying, and I was just, surrendering to the Lord. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. What am I doing? Thinking about my kids, the things that I've done with my kids around. And, and I just started, reading, and how I've told you, I've always had a background. I'm not blind, to the Lord. I've always, known that, He'll forgive us of our sins, and, just all, I guess, the basic stuff. So I knew okay, but let me open up, let me start reading the Bible. And then I was just kind of tired of feeling the way I felt. I knew okay, let me just quit feeling sorry for myself. This person's not going to do anything, and he doesn't matter anyway. What he thinks about, what he thinks about me doesn't matter anyway. The only thing that matters, is God. Yeah. So, and then after that, I stopped drinking, and it just went away. The addiction it just went away. Yeah, just like that. And the feeling of suicidal, it just went away, because I just knew that I was stronger than any man, any person next to me, that, God is right with me. Who are you to tell me? Yeah, who are you to tell me? And I've just been through so much with this person that, I finally just snapped out of it. What is that going to do for me? And then, with my mom, talking to me and telling me, come on, Alyssa, and just different things that I would tell her. She was like, that's God talking to you. He's giving you the nudge. Mm-hmm. And then even that, it was encouraging me more, oh no, she's telling me that these signs are coming from God, giving me a nudge. That means I'm getting somewhere, So then just from there, then I've been starting to continue, just the little things that she would say, the music, that. So that's something that I started with first. She's like, just try to listen to Kayla for 30 minutes, start slow. But it was, it was easy for me because, I don't know if you remember Bible study last time, when I sing too, and just music is, really big, for my life. So I thought it would be super hard. And, I did it little by little. I would erase some songs that I knew I could, live without, but kept some. But then no, I just completely let go. And then my daughter, she even noticed, because she was like, is this a Jesus song? And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, is this a Jesus song? And then she was like, oh, and then I was like, yeah. And then she finally stopped asking, because she realized they're all Jesus songs now. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that made you happy.
Yeah. And then just other thing, and then the other thing that I told you when my mom told me, I don't have to be, perfect to, that actually helped me. It helped me be able to get rid of actually a whole bunch of stuff easier, because there is some stuff that I could get rid of, easily. So it was, so a lot of things, I'm like, bam, let me get rid of that, I got rid of the two biggest things, substance abuse and, wanting to hurt myself. And, I didn't even, it didn't even come to my mind, like, you're not supposed to think like that. Like, you're sinning right now, thinking like God gave you this life and you want to, you want to take it away. And even my mom, she just tells me, she's like, yeah, you've come a long way. And just even this situation, she's like, yeah, just pray about it. And that's just another sign, like, look, God keeps opening all these doors to you. Like, you just have to just fully, completely surrender, because like, look, look what he's done for you. And, like, I lead or I help with the dance, like, and that's what I love to do. And like, look, I didn't even have to work too hard, too hard for it. I just came back and, got to jump in again. So I'm just really, thankful and blessed. And yeah, and my son too, that's just another separate other testimony.
There's a lot I want to address with what you said already.
Okay.
First off, I really want to acknowledge the fact how you, in your heart, you want to please God.
Yeah.
A lot of times I don't hear Christians saying that.
Yeah. So, so little by little, but I'm making my way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something I want to go back to, because it seems like you're finally throwing everything you have on the table. Not just your gifts, but past traumas. It sounds like you've surrendered your kids to God, your life, and whatever he chooses to do with you. But you talk about how you were in a relationship. Did that relationship that you were in force you towards God? Or do you feel like for a minute it was just Satan giving you spiritual warfare through another person?
I never really thought about it that way. I would say, I think it's actually kind of both, because he's still around, and that's something that's hurting me from being able to let go of other stuff, or like anger. And so I think, that's definitely Satan through him a little bit there. And then, it's just hard sometimes to discern, like, because, is this real, or, and then, part of it is also because, that situation, but a lot of it too is, back to my mom, just her just starting to fill my ear and just show me things about my life, show me things about my life that, God has given me, or that are happening, that should happen or shouldn't happen. And just, just really just opening my eyes. And, coming from my mom, I want to, I want to listen to her, and I want to, I want to please her too. And then just seeing her, go back to serving the Lord, seeing my uncle going back to serving the Lord. And then we just have like a whole like army, and I just want to join that army. And then I'm like the oldest out of all the, the kids and the grandkids. So now I'm like a role, I'm like a role model now. So
that's a lot of weight.
Yeah. And then my kids too, like, like my kids. And even before too, when I was just going slowly by slowly, like, I even thought in my head, like, okay, like, if I don't make it, at least I'm going to try to raise my kids, to make it. And then I'm like, no, I'm coming too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just be like, no, you don't.
Yeah, because, I'll read them their Bible stories and, tell them about God and this. But then I knew, like, in the back of my head, okay, I know I'm not living right, but at least if I can try to have them.
You got to walk along.
Yeah. Too. So now we're all
aligned.
We're all one. Yeah.
Okay. So you said that your son, it's its own testimony in itself.
Yeah, just because he has disabilities. So just,
how old is your son?
He's 9.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 9, and he has autism, and he's nonverbal, and it's just really just time and time again how the Lord just shows us how he comes through, because my son, every day is a different day. You never know if he's, gonna be happy or be upset, and he can't talk to tell us. And sometimes there was a moment in time where his behavior got so bad where he was self-harming himself. And it was like bad. He was pinching himself. He was leaving scars, bruises, just really bad, to the point where I got CPS called on me because they thought that I was doing something to him. And then, obviously I wasn't. And then, we figured out the problem. It turned out to be something, I have to go through each thing. Like, is it his stomach? Is it this? Is it that?
How old were you when you had your son?
I was 19.
How did you prepare for that?
I don't know.
How did God prepare you for that? Looking back over it.
I guess the support of my family, and then I guess just the support of, his, dad's family. What was the question again? Sorry.
No, because I said looking back over that, how did God
prepare me for my son?
Help you through that journey?
I don't know. I never thought about like how he helped me in different situations, because I didn't, I wasn't thinking like that.
My relationship with God is reflection.
Yeah. So let me reflect here for a second. Hold on.
Right?
Having the support of my family, because us being young, we're like 18, 19, and sometimes a lot of, kids, they don't have their families. So looking back, that's a way, that God showed me that I've always been protected and, have always been blessed, because having my child young, I had all my surrounding family to help me and support me.
Did you see it as a blessing in the moment?
No. No. Now I see everything as a blessing.
Why didn't you see it in the moment, do you feel?
Because I just wasn't, in tune or in my relationship, with God yet. So that's not, something I thought about, like God blessed me with my son. I mean, I know I'm 19, I never thought like, oh, this is happening for a or like this is happening for a reason, because God is, because of God,
What's your mindset?
Well, he was like my high school sweetheart, so we didn't care if, I was going to have a baby, so I was excited. Yeah, I was scared. My parents didn't find out until they could tell. It was actually at a party, and my dad said, "What is this?" And he walked up and
How many months were you at that point?
Probably like 5 or 6. Yeah, I tried to hide it because I was like, I was terrified, but I was happy. Like I was happy. I knew I knew I was gonna keep it. Never in my mind like I'm not going to. And I just prepared for him like any other, I guess, expectant mother would be, minus praying, but to the Lord, or I guess no, I prayed, but like having my relationship with him, that's what was missing.
Okay. So when Gio, right?
Yeah.
When Gio was born and you found out he had autism, did that like make you pray more, or did it somewhat build remnants of your relationship with God?
Yeah, I definitely prayed all the time, and then just like as I've just learned and really just listen to things that, he's told me, like, now makes sense why he gave me, my son, like through all the struggles that I've been through, like, I'm stronger than that. And he's showing me because he gave me my son, and like, who am I to complain about everything that I complain about? Because look at everything that my son has to go through, and he can't even talk to tell me what it is. So we always have to, guess. So it's always, me praying has at least, like if I wasn't attending church or even still starting my personal relationship with him, praying definitely did increase. Prayer was all the time, because that's what we needed, and I always knew, like, if you, need some, go to God and, pray for it. So I guess, that really, reflecting, I never really thought about it, but having my son and knowing that he had that disability really did, encourage myself to pray more, a lot.
Shifted your vision towards God.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so when did your eyes become fixed in all of your life? You know how, like, we focus on our problems, we focus on where we don't level up, or when we don't, like, stand up to the standard that we put on ourselves. But instead of looking at the issue or the problem, we have to focus on God. So when did that mindset click in for you?
The same time when I, just cried that night and opened the Bible and just surrendered everything, to God, well, not everything, but, surrendered those to, the suicidal. And I was just begged him, just take it away from there. Like, it was just an uphill, like, because I knew I never wanted to go back to that. And then I knew that he was, each day that would go by, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm doing it. And then, like, each day that went by, I'm like, okay, like, this is God, like, he's getting me through this. It's not me getting me through this. He, because I was thinking in my head, like,
oh, I got it.
Like, how is it that easy, like, that doesn't happen, like, like, it's usually hard, or it takes a couple times for people to, like, finally quit. But for me to just say that's it the first time and just never go again.
Was all up in there.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, yeah. So, and just now everything's just so exciting when I'm like, oh my gosh, that was God right there.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So all praise to God first off, because it's a beautiful story when you have, because I'm thinking about me, when I've done all my mess and thought that, oh, I'm getting myself through this. And I can look back over my life and think God was carrying me through what I thought I was running through.
Yeah.
So it just builds me up with joy, and then I want to tell someone else. So you said this is the first time you like telling your testimony. You never use it to encourage other people. You never tell someone, look, I've been exactly where you're at.
Not necessarily. Like, I won't admit that it's myself, but I will tell them, like, you're not alone. Like, I'm fighting right there with you. Like, I might not go into detail, but I do try to encourage people, especially, now, because I know I need that encouragement, and I know that I felt how I felt before. And I know there's, plenty of people out there, and you never know what people are, are going through. And, I know that's, part of having your relationship to God is, to spread his word. So that's like another thing. Like, I know, like, now, like, I don't want to, I don't want to miss, like, is when I have an opportunity, or, I learn something, like, all right, who's somebody that who I can tell. So I might not go into detail, like, what of myself, but, I'll tell them, like, you're not alone, like, and then they'll even see, like, look at where I was and look at where I came from. Like, you could do it too. Like, like, you could do it too. Like, if I did it, you could do it. And I never thought that I was going to be, I really didn't, like.
You didn't think what?
I don't know. I didn't think I was going to be able to, come to the Lord and,
Why do you think it was, like, so difficult
to
believe?
I don't know, because I just thought it was going to be harder than it was, but it's actually not that hard.
Yeah.
And my mom even told me that. She's like, well, you're going to see it's not, it's not that. I mean, there is some things, but other things it's not that hard. And then you see, like, as long as, you stay in prayer, he will take it away.
Exactly. I feel like the hardest thing is pulling our flesh to be disciplined and surrender.
Yeah.
Once we just let go of the will, it's easy.
But then now, I have that mindset. So when I, like, think this or that, or I'm in a certain situation that I'm like, nope, like, I stop myself and, like, what would Jesus do? WWJD, like, he wouldn't do this, or he would do this. And yeah, I just really, like how I mentioned before, like, a lot of things that I've done, like, upset me, and I wish I could take back, and obviously I can't. So now I just want to show, like, that's not me. Like, this is who I, this is who I am.
Who God says you are?
Yeah. Okay. I believe I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like you hesitated a little.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said from 25 to 29 now. What does that walk with Christ look like for you?
So that has looked like getting rid of all, starting to get rid of strongholds, committing myself more to church, making sure that I'm, present and attending all the time. Just making sure that I'm, like, glorifying him, and every opportunity that I can get, exposing him to my kids. And yeah, just really doing anything that I can to, grow closer to him, to learn, to just learn more about him. Because like I've said, I'm still new, I'm still learning. There's a lot that I don't know. So, I just want to know all of it. So I love that we do the Bible study. And I've also joined. That's another thing that I've done to try to, continue my walk with him is anytime there's like little groups or stuff, like I'll try to join them when COVID hit and it was like the home groups. Yeah. My uncle, he was actually like one of the hosts, so it was easy to join, and all my family, we were all on there. Other people were too, but that was just it's just encouraging, and it helps to be with other people.
Yes.
Yeah, and
you're
it's
not supposed to forsake that fellowship.
Yeah, and it's a lot, it makes it a lot easier when you have other people, and just growing closer and closer. Like, I want to be here all the time. Like, I want to see you guys all the time. Like, I look forward to every time that I'm coming to church, because it's just another opportunity to fellowship with my family here, and just to be with him and in his presence.
Like, looking back over your life, who is Jesus to you?
My Lord and Savior, everything. He's just everything that I want to be. I want to be. We're all, we're supposed to be a representation of his character, and like now that's just what I want to strive, to do. Like, and like you picked me for a reason, and how I said like I'm a face to the dance ministry, and that's a big deal, and I don't want to upset him and have these holding on to these things, knowing that I'm represent, I don't want to put on like a false
representation.
Yeah. So
we have to be very careful on how we show ourselves.
Yeah. So that's another big thing too. Like, okay, I'm a face of that, so I don't, how you said, I don't want to be a false, person to all these people that I'm ministering to. They feel or they get stuff from my movements, but little do they know, like, so yeah.
Okay. So before we like really started, you talked about how mental health was big to you. Why is mental health big to you?
Like, why did it affect me, or why?
Well, you said, that's big. I thought you meant like it's really important to you, or it had a big role to play in your life.
Oh, just it had a big role to play in my life. But even now, just coming to the Lord and seeing all that, he's done for me, I've taken, a more interest in mental health, because just knowing, if you know the Lord, like, he could take you out of it, because I've been to, the doctors for them to like talk to me and see if I need, and that's nothing I ever wanted. Like, that's something I knew, like, in my head, like, I know that I can fight this. Mm-hmm. And then I wasn't connecting it to God is going to help me get out of this. I just thought, like, myself, like, I'm going to get myself out of this. He caught me in time, I caught myself in time, to get myself out of that. And then that's why I said, like, I never thought that I would, like, fully come to him, because of everything that I was going through. Like, how am I going to get rid of all this stuff? Like, this is really hard stuff, this is really heavy stuff to try to get rid of. Like, how am I ever going to do it? And I did it. I'm doing it. He's doing it.
Yeah. Since we've talked about the different chunks of your life, is there any other aspect that has been important to get you back to having a strong relationship with Christ?
Yeah, the rest of my family, like my brother and my dad and my daughter's dad. So my kids have two different dads, and my son's dad left him. So I'm a single mom. I've been a single mom my whole life. Anyway, yeah, that's something that pushes me too, because I don't want to go to heaven without them. And they're like, so just, they got a long way to go. They don't attend church, they don't anything. And, I just really feel like I'm that person for them, like to help them along with my mom. But now, I'm just another person to add to that, to, get in their ear, to, spread the word of God to them, and let them know, like.
So you said your brother, your dad, and your daughter's dad, right?
Yeah. Well, my whole family, of course, but like if
those were important for you to like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were they never saved or never walking with the Lord?
No. Actually, my daughter's dad, he came to church one time with us. And you know how at the end Pastor Vince says, oh, if anybody wants to, you know, give their life to the Lord, or, you know, believes Jesus is their Lord and Savior, raise your hand. Well, he raised his hand. And then at that time still, I didn't quite know what that what that meant. So I was like, no, put your hand down, you know. And then afterwards, I got scolded by my mom and my uncle, because they're like, no, you're not supposed to do that. Like, why would you put his hand down? I was like, well, like, does he know what he's doing? Like, he just like surrendered his life to the Lord. Like, I don't think he's ready to get rid of all his stuff. And then my mom was like, no, that means that. And I was like, oh. And then that might have been how the same conversation got into that I was actually been saved my whole, you know, like my whole life. I've always believed, you know, Jesus is my, like.
That was a part of your understanding.
Yeah. Okay. So I was like, oh, shoot. And then I was like, yeah. So he actually has, you know, admitted, like, yes, I know that Jesus is our Lord and Savior, has died on the, you know, so he knows about God. He grew up, you know, he at least knows, at least whatever I did when I was younger, he did the same, you know, he knows at least, you know, about Noah, at least the basic, you know, Bible story, Adam and Eve, yeah, you know, those at least. But my brother and my dad, no, I don't, I mean, I think they, yeah. I mean, I think they know that because I know my mom is, you know, grilling them like she grills me. But I don't think that they grasp, like, that full meaning of, you know, the full meaning of that. So, yeah, they haven't.
We're going to add them to the prayer list.
Yeah, they haven't. But my mom told me recently that my dad had a dream and it just kept getting negative, and it just kept going downhill. And then all of a sudden, 2 arms reached out to him and said enough and pulled him out. And my mom, she told me that that she believes that, not just because of that instant, that's just one big instant, but that she believes that my dad is getting the nudge. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, because you told me I was getting that. So the fact that my dad, you're saying that about my dad, like, that's even bigger, because my dad is a tough one. And then, and then my brother, he's another, you know, tough one to break, but he's gone through his own issues with substance abuse. He's actually overdosed a couple times, and he's only 20 years old.
Oh, he's a baby.
Yeah. The neighbors found him once at the end of our street, and that was the only reason that he lived, because he was found. Or else, and that's been a couple times, and it still hasn't clicked in his head. And so my mom's like, you know, prays even harder for him. So that's just, you know, another, you know, the people that are closest to me and that I see, like, are hurting and, like, really need it. Yeah. And then just recently I had a dream, and I never have dreams, and the dream was literally only 1 second long. I didn't even see anybody. I just heard a voice, and they told me that my brother died, and I didn't even stay in the dream to see the next. It just woke me up. I heard my brother died, and then I told my mom about it. And then, a couple days ago, she told my brother about it and said, oh, I want to pray for you. Or no, said, I want to pray for you, and then mention that, but didn't say, that's why I want to pray for you. Just, just to, tell, give him some knowledge, like, look, someone had this dream about you. And then I guess it was the first time that she put oil on him, and he just asked, like, didn't make any faces like how he usually would, or like, what is that, like how I said, like, what is that, or what, nothing, just said, oh, what, just what is that, Mom? And she told him, and he just said, okay, and they prayed, and so so they're little, they're even more baby steps than me. But me, I've always had, a foundation in church. They never really have. But so just seeing, that these baby steps, and then, just me spreading, I see, like, oh, really? Like, and then when it comes from different people, it hits different people different, like, sometimes he doesn't, always want to hear it from his mom, but if he hears it from his sister, or hears it from, somebody else, or my dad, or whoever, or anybody out there, if sometimes when you hear it from different people, then it affects you, or you'll accept it, or you'll think it's the truth, you'll think it's the truth, even all of it, even though what everybody's been telling you this whole time is the truth.
So since we're late, is there any last things that you want to say about your relationship with God and where he's brought you?
I would just say that I'm just thankful. Like there was times, like how I told you, like I didn't know if I was gonna, make it. Like I didn't know if he chose me. I didn't know if I was one of the ones gonna be chosen. So just to see like my life, this new life that I'm, trying to create, that I am creating, just unfold each and every day. I'm just, so thankful. And even before, when there was times where I would say like yeah to my mom, and just to see like even little by little, as I just continued to just take it in, that little by little I just started to let things go. And I'm just really proud of I'm just really proud of myself. And I just want him to be proud of me too, and just be proud that I'm I'm his child.